Hello, everyone, and welcome to my 18th podcast episode. My name is Meg, and I am a fully qualified yoga teacher, beautician, and masseuse. I don't normally do that introduction. I'm not sure why I've decided to do it on this one, but there we go. I am currently doing a little mini series talking all about the 28-day cycle, your menstruation cycle. So this is actually designed for both people who are menstruating and aren't menstruating, for many different reasons. If you are someone who menstruates, I think it's important that you know what's going on in your own body, because if you're anything like me, I spent like 15 years of my life as a menstruating woman, and not really understanding what was going on in my body. I was never really taught it at school, which is shocking in my opinion. And I hope that they are now teaching it in schools. And I was so confused as to why, like, especially in my luteal phase, so a couple of weeks before my period started, why I was so affected then. And it didn't really dawn on me that that was what was going on and that it was my luteal phase because I hadn't learned about each section of the cycle. Anyway, long story short, I wanted to bring all of the information that I'm learning and I've found out about to you guys because I think it's important to know what's going on in your own body. And if you are someone who isn't menstruating, you probably know someone who is. And you might be very close to that person, whether it's a girlfriend, a sister, a mum, whoever it is. And I think it's important to understand how much we go through because it is a roller coaster. And yeah, I've kind of been looking into not necessarily hacking it, but how you can support yourself through each of these cycles. So, the first few episodes, I talked a lot about different foods for each cycle. My last episode, I talked about yoga. Being a yoga teacher is very close to my heart, and how traditional yoga or how people in India in history view it and how you should approach it when you're on your time of the month, which I think is something that should be talked about a little bit more in Western society. Then I thought we'd move on from the yoga and we're kind of going to come into more of just general exercise and what's going on in your body in each phase and what kind of exercises you can do in each of these phases to kind of help hack and help to kind of support you through it. Exercise is incredible. It's so good for your body. We get those endorphins coming, and yeah, it's brilliant. Regardless of what kind of exercise you're doing, I think it's important. Everyone should be doing it, even if it's gentle exercise. Yeah, so we're going to be talking all about the different kind of exercises and maybe where to pop them into your different times of the cycle, and also where you maybe need to hold off on the intensity and where you can really push yourself. Obviously every person is different, but this is kind of a generalized thing. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. Let's get straight into it. Hi, my name is Meg, and you are listening to the Wellness Musings with Meg podcast. I am a fully qualified beautician and yoga teacher who has studied and worked in health and wellness since 2017. I have been obsessed with wellness my entire life and have always wanted to share my passions more. If you love health, wellness, and yoga and want to learn more, this podcast is for you. I will be bringing you all things wellness from diet and lifestyle to beauty tips and tricks, and of course, yoga as well. So grab yourself a green tea and find a tranquil spot, and let's jump in. So obviously, I am fully aware that every body is different and every body is different. So, what might work for one person might not necessarily work for somebody else. And if you're someone who menstruates, you are probably going to have different emotions and cope with different parts of your cycle in different ways. This is focusing or assuming that you're someone who has a regular cycle or a fairly regular cycle. And it's talking more about how you're going to feel in each of these chunks, each of these phases, and what kind of exercise you can do to sort of help a little bit. So we're going to start with day one. Day one is when your period starts. And so from day one till about day 6, 7, 3, depending on how lucky you are. Some people will have a period for 3 days, some 7. Um, so depending on how long that phase is for you, if you are someone who menstruates, you probably, most people find like the actual period is a very tiring time, and you tend to have low energy. I often feel like, actually, like I feel dirty during this time. Like I feel like I constantly want to shower. I feel very like, yeah, I really struggle with this sort of time when it comes to exercise, because I just want to continuously be in water. It sounds very strange, but I find that more gentle exercise works really well for me, especially swimming. And I don't know why, but I really, and I know everybody's going to be different, because obviously you don't feel like necessarily swimming on your time of the month, and I completely get that. But for me, there's something about it. I think because there's not much pressure on the body. It's very similar to like when you're pregnant. You're moving and you're getting, your hips are going, your hips are moving, and that helps to kind of helps with like kind of the cramps. But also I find like, I don't know, the water makes you weightless. So, like when you're pregnant, and they often say like swimming is really nice because you're kind of taking all that pressure off your body. It's a similar sort of thing for me. Like when I'm menstruating, I like the fact that I can swim and do exercise, but I don't know, for me, I love it. I love swimming. Get me in the ocean a little bit as well. Like in this time, I always feel really connected to water and whatever makes me feel safe. And for me, that is swimming. But I've always been a swimmer. I used to be a synchronized swimmer when I was younger. So I really, really resonate with swimming. Things like walking and light kind of cardio. It depends how you feel on your time of the month. Some people find it really easy, some people not at all. If you listen to my last podcast episode where I talked about yoga on your period, listen to your body and don't be hard on yourself if you just feel like you can't do it, you can't face exercising. That is not something that you should justify to anybody else. If you can't do it or you feel like you need to rest, listen to your body. So just because I'm talking about exercise here doesn't mean you have to do it. I think for some people it's going to really help to ease those cramps a little bit. I am certainly somebody who, um, I'm either one or the other. I'm either on the sofa, with a ginger tea, completely wrapped up in a blanket, watching movies, or I'm doing a bit of gentle exercise. There's kind of no middle ground for me. I'm either, each of those days I try and do a little bit, but I often end up like I'm either completely like horizontal, or I'm just getting a little bit of movement in there. I very rarely will have like days where I'm specifically doing tasks during my menstruation. So, like cleaning, for example, and things like that, I tend not to do, um, just because that kind of standing alone makes me feel kind of rubbish. My legs ache and I feel really crap. But if I'm actually moving and doing something like swimming, really gentle stretching, so like I'll do almost like restorative yoga. So I'll be kind of like hugging my knees into my chest, stretching out, that kind of thing, like really, really gentle things, child's pose, things that just make me feel a little bit more like I've got that movement there, but it's not strenuous. I like my hips to be open as well, so I do a lot of like hip stretching. That tends to help my hips a lot, on my cramps a lot. And I'll often walk the dog, but I tend to do like lighter walks. Often when I'm not on my period, I will like jog with my dog most days. So I'll do like a bit of a jog and then a bit of a walk and a bit of a jog. When I'm on my time of the month, that's a no. I walk and I really step back and just let myself relax. But yeah, I tend to view my workouts as like very gentle. When I come into my follicular phase, so your late follicular phase starts from the moment that your period ends, or the day your period ends. And I just like to say here as well, if you're someone who's on their period and you feel like you can do it, you can go, you can lift 100 kilograms, go for it. If you can run a marathon, you do it. Like honestly, this is just how I feel, and I think it's important. And majority of people don't feel like doing that on their time of the month. But in their late follicular phase, you have a little bit more energy because your estrogen levels are on the rise. And this makes it easier as well to build muscle. So strength training is really good here. Sometimes I'll do like bar Pilates with like really light weights. Or I'll even do like vinyasa and have like ankle weights on my feet, something that kind of challenges my body a little bit more. I'll start getting into the gym and doing my glutes and like working on the machines a bit more. And I tend to carry that through into my ovulation phase as well. And this is where I tend to do a bit of running as well. So, like in my late follicular phase, I will do more of an energetic walk slash a run with my dog. But I'm not like intent running. He's only a little mini dachshund, so we can't run that far anyway. So we just do like a little 30-second run and then we stop and go back to walking. But yeah, I tend to have a little bit more energy, so I tend to go into more of those sorts of things. And then when I come into my ovulation phase, I am then starting to look into doing a little bit more like high intensity. Your testosterone level is actually increased here. So yeah, I tend to do like more, again, more weight training. And I tend to like, if I find if I'm in the gym, my weights will up at this point. Yoga wise, I'm practicing arm balances, I'm doing things like handstands, and I'm really trying to work my body here. Chaturangas, a bit more Ashtanga yoga, like that sort of thing. Like really deep heating, fun, like energetic kind of sports. To the kind of end, so when I'm coming into my luteal phase, I've read in a lot of books that actually your luteal phase is a good time to do like high intensity exercise or strength training. I this is where I disagree. I think every person is different, so everyone's going to be affected by this in a different way. And if you're someone who breezes through that luteal phase, good on you, girl. I envy you. But this is where, for me, I really struggle. I struggle with my luteal phase more than I do my menstruation or like my actual period. So I actually find sometimes when I'm meant on my period that I can do a little bit more. I do try and pare it back, but I actually do have a fairly good amount of energy sometimes. If my luteal phase has been really bad, often my menstruating phase is actually really good. So it's almost like that last week, the week before, is worse than the actual period. But I don't know whether that's just because I'm kinder to myself because there's an actual symptom there. But anyway, I for so long was like I'd have my time of the month, I'd have my period, and then I'd come into my follicular phase and ovulation. Obviously, I'd be smashing the gym. I'm like smashing all my yoga classes that I'm teaching. I'm excited. I'm raring to go. I'm loving life. And like I can run, I can do everything, and I'm just enjoying every moment. And then I come into this luteal phase. And I think because I didn't realize for such a long time that it can be 2 weeks long, that I get into this luteal phase and I struggle. Like I go from one day being on top of the world to the next day, like life is the worst thing ever. Like I struggle to walk to the gym, and I live 3 minutes walk away from the gym, let alone anything else. So get really I for so long got so confused as to why I would go from so good to so bad. And then I realized that your luteal phase can be 2 weeks before your period. And I always used to think that it would just be like a couple of days before you get a bit of PMS and life's a bit difficult, and then you have your period and it's all fine. And I was like, well, why am I one in a million here? Why am I the only one that's feels so drained before their time in the month? Like 2 weeks beforehand, I feel like half the month I struggle. So now I am really, really kind and gentle to myself, and I do take a step back. If I'm struggling, I don't force myself to do it. I will say though that when I'm in my luteal phase, and I think you hear a lot of like gym gurus talking about this a lot. When I'm in my luteal phase and I really am unmotivated, that's my most unmotivated state or stage. When I do go and I do train and I do things like an intense Pilates class or something like that, I do feel so good for it. So I actually feel the benefits more from it in this stage than probably any other. Um, yeah, so that is one thing I will say. That being said, I am really gentle and kind to myself now, because I think it's important to be. Some people are going to struggle with this stage more than others, and I'm definitely someone who does. And yeah, so I'll do things like walking, really gentle running, yoga. The one thing I will say in this stage is that your muscles are a little bit more lax in this stage because you have an increase in estrogen. So it can kind of make your ligaments more lax. So it can increase your risk of injury. So when you're stretching and when you're doing things, just be a bit more careful. I tend to not like swing my body around so much. And I just sort of take it really easily and yeah, pare my weights back just that little bit. I tend to do, it's literally escaped me, but you know, when you do like a set of weights and then you'll do like 3 sets and then you'll do like another set but really, really light and then you do it again and it's like, I can't remember the name of them, but anyway, I do that. So I'll tend to like pull my weight back, but do extra reps and extra sets. So yeah, that's kind of how I approach my exercise when I'm on my time of the month. Like I said, listen to your body, figure out where you are, and work with it. But yeah, I hope this has helped, and I hope this kind of helps you to work out what works best for you and give yourself a little bit of a break if you're struggling. Thank you so much for listening. If you've got any questions, please leave a comment, please like, please subscribe, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Thanks. Bye.